Extroverts, they are just so energetic, but they forgot that where the introverts are concerned, to them being quiet, there's nothing wrong with being quiet. So when they are quiet, they are just at peace in their own inner world. But the extroverts are very concerned.
Hazel Sia. She's a senior trainer who has worked closely with leaders, HR partners, and decision makers, where she helps people see that difficult is often just different.
Can you say something? Are you okay? Are you bored? When in fact, actually, it's none of that. They are just happy to be quiet. So when the extrovert learn this about the introvert, then they learn to take things a little bit easier. So that was very fun, but more importantly, it is insightful.
Welcome to the Voices of Impact, the podcast where we go beyond the slides and into the real stories of people who are shaping learning and transformation. Hi, my name is Hamid.
And my name is Nadir.
Our today's guest is someone who has spent over 2 decades helping people communicate better at work. She's a senior trainer who has worked closely with leaders, HR partners, and decision makers, helping them navigate communication challenges and build trust through interactive, engaging sessions filled with real stories that make learning relatable and impactful. One of the things that she's known for is her communication training using MBTI, where she helps people see that difficult is often just different. I think it's best we leave the rest for her to explain. Please join me to welcome our guest, Hazel Sia. Welcome to the show, Hazel.
Thank you, Hamid and Odile. Thank you for having me here today. It's wonderful to be here, sharing more insight about our trainings.
Okay, Hazel. Before training, you worked in airline and ran a business. And I was wondering if there are any stories from the back that stick with you.
Oh, that was a very long time ago, My very first job was with the airlines. So I used to work with Singapore Airlines, then with Cathay Pacific. Then after that, I was actually running my own telecommunication companies.
Wow.
And because of that, I can understand, I can see things from both the employee and the employer perspective.
All right. You have seen a lot of different cultures and industries. How has that helped to shape the way you connect with people in your sessions?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. In fact, I'm very grateful for that experience because I didn't fly for a very long time, just only about 7 to 8 years. And in the course of my work, yes, it's true that we get to meet with different kind of people from different cultures, different countries, and that make us a lot more sensitive to the differences in people. And of course, you also get to meet very different customer or all types of customers. And we still need to maintain that diplomacy and that empathy towards everyone. And that was definitely a good training ground for us to gain insight and to appreciate different culture.
Well, that's one of the perks of traveling around the world. Am I right?
Yes, you can. I mean, we have that's correct.
You can say that.
All right.
Yes, you can say that. Yes, you can say that.
Okay, all right. So you have been a trainer for a very long time, actually. But I'm wondering, which one actually do you prefer? Being a trainer or being in the, let's say, aviation industry, meeting a lot of people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and so on?
I think in life, as we go through different stages, our priorities change. So I've come to a stage whereby I am not so excited about traveling anymore.
I see.
But I'm more inspired by meeting different types of people and have better conversations during our trainings.
I see. Okay. And just out of curiosity, I was wondering, where did this journey start for you, becoming a trainer? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or perhaps you just fell into it? How was it?
Good question. Actually, it was very accidental. So I never... Now, this is an interesting one. You say I used to work overseas for a long time. So when I came back to Malaysia, for some reason, I actually I was victimized in a few cases.
Oh my
so
God.
I was robbed a few times. I think it was probably fated. I have been robbed many times. My car has been stolen. There was a house break-in. So that makes me feel very fearful. And for a long time, I was wondering, that is not how I should live in my own country. So I decided, instead of living in fear, I took I became proactive, and I did a lot of research on crime prevention. So that's how I got started. I started giving talks on crime prevention. So it's like a kind of my kind of a CSR to the community. So I was not thinking about making money or making it a career. It is more about empowering people through, messages.
I see. Okay. And how
step by
did that
step-
lead to,
And step by step, it led me to become a trainer. And so that was how I began. It was not, I would say, I came into this industry by accident.
By accident.
Yes.
That's quite interesting and quite unfortunate. So sorry to hear that you have been robbed and even housebreaking.
Yeah, but I guess it was just at that time I was not being aware. And, in fact, crime happens everywhere. It's just that, at that stage of my life, I just have to go through it. But I guess everything happens for a reason. It actually helped me become more empathic, even towards, even towards those so-called criminals, And one of my dreams is that one day I also want to help them. If everyone is able to use their strength to, generate a decent income, no one needs to go into crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in a country like Malaysia.
Yes.
I guess you would agree, right? Yes. Okay.
So we understand that you came into this field by accident and providing CSR activities on how to, stop crime, prevent crime based on your own real life story.
Yes.
Okay. And now you are known for communication training. So is there any story to it, or was it like by accident that you became a communication trainer in a way?
So based on my own personal experience, I realized that communication is really the key to building fulfilling relationships, whether professionally or personally. So that's where to me, it was a very natural transition into this topic.
I see. Hazel, you spoke about communication skill being a must required thing for individuals and at work. All right. But most of our audiences are from, corporate life, and they want to know how communication can help them in corporate life. So if you want to summarize, what would be the cost of poor communication? What do you think would that be?
Well, to begin with, when a person is not able to communicate well, you may not even get the job that you wanted.
True.
And even when you get into the company, if you are not able to communicate well, you cannot build a good relationship with your co-workers, and that make life a lot tougher. True. And also in our communication with our bosses and managers, whether are we able to speak up when it matters, or ask good questions to get clarifications. So all this really adds up to our productivity at work. So it essentially, and not only that, also when we communicate with our vendors and customers, communication skill definitely make the difference.
Talking about communication, right? I will give you a scenario and hope you can help us to break it down.
Okay.
All right. So we're having a sales meeting, and I'm the sales manager, and this is exactly what I'm telling my sales team. Our sales has been down by 15% in January. I see this as unacceptable. Either you bring up your sales, or you might want to think about your next job. So can you help to break down? I believe this was quite direct and, efficient way of communicating with your colleagues. At least this is how I see it. But if you can help to break it down for us.
That's a very common scenario, Nordale. In fact, we have been asked that again and again during a lot of sessions that we have done. Yeah, it is very common. Now, the thing is, you are correct in the sense that as managers, they need to communicate their expectations very clearly. However, that is not enough. More needs to be done. Because when people do not perform as required or as expected, there could be a lot of reasons behind it. Is it they don't know how to, or they don't want to, or they cannot do it? So just like any good problem solver, the managers need to do one more step to enhance the communication. That means to take the time to understand where the people are stuck. So in this case, listening to the team members' challenges will be a lot more helpful to begin with. So I would suggest that, in your scenario, that managers actually, can take the time to actually find out why are they not, what is the reason that they were not able to perform and what were the challenges that they faced. And then through understanding it, providing guidance step by step, the outcome will be a lot better.
I see. Hazel, as part of our pre-podcast preparation, we do look into different topics, and for this session, communication. Some say that main issues in communication is not actually the communication skill. Basically, the main issue is misunderstanding in communication. What do you think about that? Do you think when there is a communication barrier challenge and whatnot, is it because of lack of skills in communication, or is it because of misunderstanding? Or are they the same thing?
They are two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
When you do not have the skill, then it will lead to miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the skills of a good communication skill, then obviously we will have already diverted or prevented a lot of miscommunication. Yeah, they are just two faces of the same coin. Yeah. So in this case, I would suggest that to enhance our communication skill, there are many aspects to it. So it starts with the listening part, then the ability to speak up, and also asking good questions. All these are the different aspects of communication.
I understand that MBTI is one of your specialization areas, and it's a personality assessment tool that categorizes people into 16 different categories. But for people who's never heard of it, never heard of MBTI, can you simplify it for us? What is MBTI?
Sure. MBTI, as you have correctly mentioned, is actually one of the personality assessment tool that is available in the market. Now, the thing is, actually, people are all unique on its own. So in a way, some people resist the idea of being categorized into pigeon boxes like that. However, when it comes to behavior, we definitely have certain preference. So we are, there is a tendency for us to behave in a certain way. So MBTI helps us to understand people in 4 areas, specifically 4 areas. Number 1, the way we energize ourselves. Are we more introverted or are we more extroverted? The way they communicate will be very different. Then it also shows us how people take in information, how people take in information, and then how do they make decision, and finally also how people prefer to work. Are they the planners or are they more the impromptus? So by understanding all this, it can actually help us to reduce a lot of misunderstanding and also help us to connect with people in the other person's frequency. Because after all, changing ourselves is a lot easier than expecting other people to change.
Do you remember a time when this particular topic, MBTI, actually really has helped someone to feel understood or to have an improvement in their communication within their team, with their colleagues and so on?
Of course. In fact, during our MBTI training, one of the activities that I do is to actually separate the introverts to one group and the extroverts into one group. So I actually get them to discuss what are the things that they like about each other, and also what are the things that they don't like about each other. And of course, the discussions will become very lively, as the training progress. And then what is wonderful is that at the end of the discussion, there is actually a lot of insight. So give you an example. So for example, those people who are extroverted, they get very frustrated when they don't get a response from the introverts. Yeah. So, and for a lot of introverts, to them it's like, wait, I'm still thinking, I'm processing, or I prefer a more indirect way of communication. So introverts are just there, they are just quiet, and the extroverts get very upset about it. So when the introverts hear that directly from the extrovert, can you just say something, whatever that may be, the desperation in the extrovert, then it was very interesting because the introverts suddenly realized, oh, you just want to respond, okay, so next time I will just give you a response. Yeah. So it was very, in a way, it's very revealing, very insightful. And the other example would be when the extrovert, because extroverts, they're so energetic and they want to involve everyone. But they forgot that where the introverts are concerned, to them being quiet, there's nothing wrong with being quiet. So when they are quiet, they are just at peace in their own inner world. But the extroverts are very concerned. Can you say something? Are you okay? Are you bored?
Are you upset?
And are you upset? When in fact, actually, it's none of that. They are just happy to be quiet. And so when the extrovert learn this about the introvert, then they learn to take things a little bit easier and not to push and not to push that hard. And when people are quiet, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So that was very fun, but more importantly, it is insightful. And once they understand all these differences in communication preference, right, when they go back to work, they are able to give more allowance to each other. Yeah. So this is something that I find it very fulfilling. People can communicate better after the session.
Wonderful. That's good to hear.
Why do you think every workplace today really needs this kind of communication training?
Well, you see, I've heard one guru said before, everything that we want, but we cannot get it on our own, must come from somebody else. And when we want something from other people, the only way to do it is to communicate. So which is why we need to communicate regardless, what position you are in, whether you are, facing the customer or even when you are working back end. Sometimes you still need, information and data from other departments, or you are, running a department. Running the department as a manager or even as a CEO. Everyone needs great communication skill.
And do you see communication skill as something that perhaps has an influence on how quickly someone climbs up the ladder within an organization?
Definitely, it helps. Everyone gets promoted based on their technical competence first. However, in order to increase your influence at work, you need to be great communicators. And to communicate effectively, we actually need two essential skills. So one is, the consideration, our ability to consider other people's feelings and emotions and other people's priorities. So that is where listening skill comes in. But we also need to have enough courage, because if you are not able to speak up, to express what you really need, then the communication cannot be effective at all. So we need both. Although typically we are better at one and we find the other one difficult. It's just like asking you, do you want your left hand or your right hand? You might be comfortable with your right hand, but you still need your left hand.
True.
So it's the same thing when it comes to communication. There are people who tend to listen more than they speak. Then there are also people who speak a lot more than they listen. When in fact, we need both.
I see. Okay, that's quite interesting. Just out of curiosity, there are organizations that they invest more on communication skills when it comes to top to bottom communication. And there are companies that they do other way around. Bottom to top communication is going to be something that they invest in as far as training is concerned. What do you think is the most prevalent? What is the most common practice? Or is it somewhere in between, based on your experience?
The way you describe it is very interesting, because very often when we talk about workplace communication, it's top down. But then the thing is, in our communication training, we actually teach our people to manage our bosses too.
That's good.
To give you a scenario, the thing is, you see, bosses being bosses, they have their priorities and they are busy. So when they are busy, they may not have enough time to actually understand what their people need. And then let's say if you are the team members, you are the team member, you have certain, maybe you have certain challenges, or you have certain needs, or you have certain requests. And if you are not willing, or if you are either not willing or not able to speak up, how would our managers know about our needs? So that's why when it comes to communication, it should be two ways. Two ways is not just horizontal, it's also hierarchical. So how do we communicate effectively with our bosses is one of the topics that we cover in our training, of which the participant actually found it very useful. Because most of us are very passive. We just expect our managers to understand us. But that doesn't happen. Not because our managers don't care, but because they are too busy with their own work. So we teach our people to be proactive. What you need, speak up and let people know. But of course, in all communication, we must do it with respect.
Great.
if we can be a bit more specific, right? What is the benefit of communication, let's say, in customer service?
To answer that question, I actually would prefer to share one example. So many years ago, I mean, most people think that only the customer-facing employee need to learn about communication, and then if they are engineers, if they are the back-end people, they may not need communication. But actually, that's not true. Now, I would like to share one example, a real-life example. Many years ago, I was actually working late at night, and then there was an outage, electricity outage. So everything was dark, and I was feeling a little bit afraid, to go to the car park and all that. So I called TNB, our electrical company here, and I asked them, what is happening? Everything is dark, and I actually feel kind of afraid. And I remember that technician over on the other end. He said, "Well, madam, give us 1 hour. We are working hard to fix the electricity. Just give us 1 hour, please." And I have got it. After that, I have to wait in the darkness for about, for a while. Now, instead of 1 hour, 30 minutes later, the electricity came back on. So I packed my bag quickly, ready to rush home. And that was when the phone rang again. And I was actually quite concerned who would be calling me at this hour. But when I answered the call, it was the same technician that I spoke to earlier. So he updated me about the progress, and he said, "Madam, we have already fixed electricity. Everything okay at your office?" And of course, I said, "Yeah, fine. You took shorter than the 1 hour. Thank you." And he said one more word that really touched my heart. So he asked me one question. "So do you feel safe to go home now?" How do you think I feel as a customer? That was an incident that happened almost 20 years ago. My only regret is I never asked for his name or his title, and I do not know his face. I do not know his name, but because of just one extra phrase that he said, that he showed he cared, and this company is my favorite company. So every time I got the electricity bill, I'm very happy to pay. Yes. So that is the impact of communication in customer service. People may not know you, but because of how you make people feel, that impact is really lifelong.
True.
And it enhances the brand, but at the same time, it is like, people remember your company and that person fondly because of the way they communicated.
Great. So, Nadir, we know where to send our TMB bill end of the month this month.
She'll be very happy to pay.
Okay. All right. Great.
Perhaps that technician was one of your students, I guess.
No, that technician, he has got so much empathy for the customers. I would love to meet him one day.
Okay, so talking about workshop attendees, right? For those people who come to your workshops, let's say, what kind of aha moments do they really have?
Okay. In the context of corporate training, a lot of participants do not come by choice. They have been nominated or they have just been sent in to the training by their managers. So the motivation to learn may not always be very high to begin with. So for me, in our training, I prefer to, instead of like focusing a lot on theory, it is much more effective by sharing personal stories. So sometimes it's my stories, sometimes it's other people's stories. So I will use very simple language, and relatable stories, and whereby they will realize, they can see themselves in those stories. And when you share incidences like that, so for them to come to their own learning. And the other activity the other technique that we will use is that we will actually give them a lot of activities and games. Because through games, people are their natural self. People are their natural self when, how they do anything is how they do everything. So the way they play games is also a reflection of how they treat life. So, and instead of just telling people you are not good in this area or you need to improve this area, it's much easier to put them through a game whereby they can recognize their own weaknesses or their shortcomings.
Okay, so they unconsciously act naturally.
Yes. So through the game, they just realize, oh, why didn't I tell the other person clearly, or why did I not speak up when I wanted something? So when people is able to see themselves in a scenario, and that's where the aha moment comes in. It's not very effective if we were to tell people you are not good in this, you need to improve in that. Nobody likes that kind of being told off.
Like a direct way.
Yes, but for them to realize what needs to be done in a very non-threatening way, that's where I find people actually come to their aha moments a lot more often.
I see. And, Hazel, there are a lot of communication programs out there. Is this what makes yours different from most other communication trainings, or is there anything else that helps your program to stand out from the rest?
Well, as a communication trainer, there are a lot of peers out there. So I believe everyone brings different touch to the training. So in my training, among all the many good trainers out there, well, in my training, I would say that I do things a little bit differently. I keep it a bit more simple and more relatable on a day-to-day basis. So there'll be a lot of stories to share, a lot of games for them to go through. Yeah, so that is something that I prefer to do, for them to see themselves in the situation.
Okay. How do you make sure people leave your workshop with something they can actually use right away?
Oh, you see, when people come for training, usually I, instead of just go through the the standard syllabus and everything, I always prefer to start the training by asking them what challenges they are facing. So for adult learner, typically they don't just come to spend the time. They want to learn something that is usable when they go back. So before we even start, we want to understand what challenges that they faced. You see, so no doubt when it comes to training, we have our standard syllabus, but sometimes I will modify it according to what the participant need. And I do that by finding out right from the beginning first, where are they stuck, what difficulties that they are facing, what improvement they want to see in themselves. So when we understand that early in the training, then we are able to customize the content, modify the content so that they can take away something useful. Yeah. Because after all, the company has already made the investment in training, and the people are making the investment of their time to learn. So we don't just go through a training because it has to be done, but rather we want to make sure that they actually have something, that they take away something that can solve actual problems when they go back.
Fantastic. Even though they have been nominated to attend that workshop.
Correct.
But the effort, I believe, should be from both the trainer and the trainee.
Yes.
To see some improvement.
Because it takes two hands to clap,
Definitely.
We can put in our best to do the training, but if they are totally shut down, then it's very difficult. So usually I will not rush into the content so much. I will really take the time to understand, why are you here? What do you want to take out from the session, And even if they are not very happy to be there, I will need to find ways to connect with them, to break down the ice, and to make them feel that, their time there is still worthwhile.
You've not been nominated, you've been fated to be here, right?
Okay. Hazel, given your long, extensive working experience, in particular as a trainer, I'm guessing there will be way more than one memory, but I want to ask you if there is any particular memory that you remember the most among others that you would like to share with our audiences, that perhaps helps them understand what type of a trainer you are, what's your methodology or style and so on. Anything that shaped the type of trainer that you are.
I think there are many instances, so it's very hard to pinpoint one. Okay. But what really touched me or give me the sense of achievement is that every now and then there'll be participants who come up and say that, thank you so much for your sharing. It really gives them hope. It gives them because very often they can be at the what do you call that? At the low stage in their life, but they are not able to share it out very, very publicly. But then when they learn to communicate well, then they'll realize, okay, so I've been communicating the ineffective way so far, and that's why my relationships are breaking down. So when they learn the new skill, when they go back, they make some adjustment. And then when they see the improvement, they are so happy they will come back and let me know. And that's where I realized, training is not just about training. It is really about transforming people, empowering people to improve their life.
Fantastic. Nice. Well said. I really like that.
Thank you.
You were mentioning just now that what makes you happy is when your students come back to you after the training, saying how happy they are and how they can feel or see the transformation. But why does that mean a lot to you as a trainer?
Okay. Now, training as a profession, just like any profession, you can make money doing anything, right? So, but then the thing is, when it comes to training, it's not just about making money. It's really about leaving an impact. So I feel that, at this stage of my life, this is actually a lot more important. Even if it's unpaid, I will still be happy to do it.
Wow.
So that's why I realized, this is the calling, when you can actually help people communicate better, avoid the mistakes that that has been done before, and I think this is a lot more fulfilling, much more than the money that we get paid.
Nice, great. Thank you so much for sharing, Hazel. We have reached the last question that we have for you. For those organizations, for those training managers and decision makers in organizations who have not yet engaged a trainer for communications topic, if they are thinking of doing it, what do you advise them to start from?
Okay, for those who have not started on this kind of training, I think the first thing is to understand what outcome they want first. We should always begin with the end in mind. Because very often people just, they just order training just like, ordering food from the menu, just tick. But that may not be the best way to spend their budget. It is much more important to understand what changes you want to see in your people, what outcome you want. Because when you are clear about what you want, then it's much easier for us trainer to customize the content, the activities and the stories in order to connect with their team member, connect with the participant, so that they can, have a more impactful learning after that. Because
Fantastic.
Communication is such a big topic, so you can talk about many things. But if it's not what people are looking for, then it will be wasted time.
So basically, pinpoint or at least have a general consensus of what is the challenge, what change they want to achieve, perhaps for which department, what type of role, and communicate that with you. Only then you will be able to customize a tailor-made training for them that addresses the issue, right?
Yes, correct.
Fantastic. I hope our audiences, they have
thanks a
enjoyed
lot,
the session as much
I
as we
personally
did.
learned a lot.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.